I was pretty sure I was going to die. It was day 3 of the 2001 Washington, D.C. AIDS ride. A 330-mile bike ride from Raleigh, North Carolina to Washington, D.C. to raise money for AIDS charities. But I was done, mentally and physically. My knee was about to give out. The other 3,000 riders were miles ahead of me. And I was on the verge of quitting. And then something happened that would change my life forever. I saw a middle-aged couple standing in a driveway holding what looked like the high school graduation photo of a young man. They weren't cheering as other spectators had done. They were just smiling in a sad kind of way. And I realized they had lost their son to AIDS, just as I had lost my uncle 10 years before. So there I was, a 27-year-old college dropout with a dead-end job, no family support, about to give up on the one true challenge I had taken on in my adult life. And then there were with their memories of their dead son. And I realized I was taking for granted what so many others no longer had: time. I stand before you now nearly 15 years later, no longer a college dropout, but a college professor. That moment, that nameless couple made me realize that I was needing to change my life in some way. And so I did. I used the time I had. I spent much of my 20s doing things I hated, going to jobs I dreaded. I used to say that I wish I could have that time back. I now realize that such wishes are futile. I'm sure we've all felt that way at one point or another. We have a peculiar relationship with time. Today, I'm going to suggest that we find a new way to think about time. To that end, I'm going to first examine several metaphors for time, then analyze the most common metaphor, and finally, from that analysis, draw 3 key lessons. So, how do we think about time? You don't have to look very far in our society to see many metaphors for time. For example, we talk about time as if it's a place of residence. We tell people they shouldn't dwell in the past, that they need to live in the moment. They should try to move into the future. Well, that might sound nice on a poetic level, but it doesn't really describe time very well. It's too simplistic. Another common metaphor is that time is a person. We say that time is our enemy or time is on our side. Maybe we're playing a game with time, like hide and seek. Aren't we always looking for time? But time isn't hiding from us. It's all around us, tick-tocking away, slowly and surely. By the time my talk is over, another 600 or so seconds will be gone forever. By the end of today, another 1,440 minutes will also be gone. As they say, time keeps marching on, but time isn't a soldier either. And sorry to say, there is no father time. The thing is, time isn't a sentient being. It's just a human construction. So, time isn't a person and time isn't a place. What about the most common metaphor? Time is money. Let's examine that metaphor a little more closely. We say that we spend time, that we can save time, that if we need to, we can make time. We can waste time. We talk about time as an investment. Perhaps somebody wants to borrow 5 minutes of your time. And the biggest one of all, we can manage time. The thing is, time isn't a commodity that we can spend or save. It's just not possible. Let's look at time management. According to a recent Amazon search that I did, nearly 150,000 books are out there on time management. If you Google the term time management, you get 33 million hits. We preach to people in every industry that they need to master their management of time. In recent years, I've even been guilty of preaching to my own students about time management. The thing is, as I said, time isn't a commodity. Regardless of our own organizational skills, we cannot control time. It keeps going by. Now, to look at this a little bit closer, let's look at how we treat time versus how we treat money. Let's imagine there are 2 people, one with $1,000 in the bank and one with $1 million. Guess which one I'm a little bit closer to. Now, let's say they both withdraw $100 from that account. How will they treat that money differently? Well, it doesn't take much common sense to see that the person who takes $100 out of the $1,000 account will be very careful and deliberate with the way they spend that money. After all, that's 10% of their savings. The person who takes $100 out of $1 million, that's only 1/100th of 1% of the total. They probably won't even notice the difference. The thing is, in this example, both people know they can spend that money and still make more later on. Even if the person with $1,000 were to withdraw the entire amount, they can make a deposit later on to bring that balance back up, or even grow the balance to $2,000 or $3,000 or even $1 million. Now let's say we had a different kind of account instead of money. This one holds time. Now we make withdrawals from this account. Whenever we go to the movies or read a book or watch a TED Talk, we're making a withdrawal of time. The difference is we have no way of knowing our remaining balance. And there's no way to make a deposit. Unlike money, you can't make more time to make your balance come back up. So every time you make a withdrawal of time, there's a chance it may be your last. What if this was our money? We have a finite balance, no way of knowing how much, no way to make a deposit, no way to make more. Every time we took money out, how would we spend that money? Well, chances are we'd be very, very careful with each expenditure because you never know when you're going to run out. And that's why the time is money metaphor falls apart. And in a way, cheapens the notion of time. Time isn't money. Money doesn't even come close to the true value of time. So, the time is money metaphor falls apart. What lessons can we draw from this? Well, there are probably dozens of lessons, but I only have time for 3. So, lesson number 1, don't waste the time of others. Whenever you're with another person, you're using their most valuable resource. And remember, you can't borrow time. That's a loan you can't repay with all the riches in the world. So whenever you're spending another moment with a person, whether it be a friend, a family member, a coworker, a classmate, or even a stranger, make it count. Wasting the time of another person is truly the biggest theft of all. Lesson number 2, be deliberate and reflective of the activities that fill your time. You may be hearing me today and think that I'm telling you not to take time to enjoy some simple or even guilty pleasures. What are your guilty pleasures? Watching How to Get Away with Murder, sneaking in a couple of attacks in Clash of Clans, singing along with Dancing Queen at the top of your lungs. And yes, these are all my guilty pleasures, along with dozens of others. And I do take time to indulge in them on a regular basis. The thing is, we need to be very restful at times. We need that time to ourselves, but we should do it in a way that isn't wasteful. And we need to use our time very deliberately and reflectively. And really, after the 20th time you've listened to Dancing Queen on repeat, it's a little excessive. And the person you're riding with may want to throw you out of the car. Lesson number 3, manage your choices, not your time. Remember the 150,000 books there are about time management? Well, we already know that we can't really manage something like time, but we can manage our choices. So what will you choose to do with the next 24 hours? Or the next week, or the next 30 days, or the next 525,600 minutes, if there are any Rent fans out there. Or the next 315,360,000 seconds. That's 10 years for those who are wondering. Depending on how you define choices, we make dozens or hundreds or even thousands a day. Think about it. From the moment you wake up, you make a choice to hit snooze or not. If you're like me, the next 5 choices you're making are hit snooze 5 more times. Then you choose to get up, you choose what to wear, you choose what to eat for breakfast, you choose what to listen to on the radio, you choose what route to take to avoid traffic. You've made up to a dozen choices, you're not even at work or school yet. And most of these choices are automatic, we don't think about them, and that's fine, but being reflective of these choices and analyzing them can help make the time we have that much more meaningful. So those are my lessons, and they all can be summed up in one word: awareness. By being mindful of the time we spend with others, deliberate about the time we spend with ourselves, and managing choices in both realms, we can come to this notion away from time is money to something much, much more important. Time is life. So today, we examined several metaphors for time. We talked about the most common metaphor, and from that analysis drew 3 key lessons to see that we do need to find a new way to think about time. To return to my original story, I didn't quit that day. I chose to stay on my bike and finish the ride. I made other choices in my 20s that I can't take back. I used to say that I wish that I could have that time back. I know now that the choices I made then were just making me into the person I am today. So, thank you for allowing me to share this time with you today. I hope it wasn't a waste of your time. And thank you for joining us here. Everybody taking the stage has something of value to offer. The question is, what will you choose to do with it? I think you know my choice. It's time to live. Thank you.